Good morning, good morning. I want to ask you a question. Do you know one of the things we don't learn in school? Financial literacy. And that's why I'm here. Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago. My name is Darren Jacobs from Darren Jacobs Financial. And this show is Dollars and Cents, where it is we make your dollars make sense for you. Now, in this series, we'll be exploring how to make smart financial decisions, build generational wealth, and achieve personal financial goals. Now, today we'll be talking about the benefits of financial planning and starting at an early age. Now, when it is you start planning, you give yourself the best chance on your journey and in creating a strong financial foundation. It's really about creating good habits, understanding the financial options, and using time to your advantage. Now, we'll break down how to start early, and that will help you accumulate your wealth while preparing for emergencies and achieving life financial goals, such as buying a home or preparing for retirement. Now, today we'd have invited Anissa Rampersad, and she's a great example of someone who would have planned early and seeing currently the benefits of those decisions. Hi, Anissa.
Hi, good morning.
So give us an idea, before we get into it, what do you do?
I am a mathematics tutor with Calculating with Confidence. I'm also the founder of the program. And what we offer is a program that encourages children throughout the primary school level, first year to standard 5, to really develop a love and appreciation for mathematics and in turn build their confidence as they approach their exams.
So let me ask you this, right? As somebody who would have started financial planning at an early age, why do you think some persons believe that this is something that they should start later in life rather than early?
Well, I can't say about everyone else, but I can say for me, I realized that by starting earlier, I was actually giving myself more options in the long run. And the earlier I started, I was giving my money more time to work for me. And I was also setting myself up to have more options, whether I wanted to purchase a new home or start a new business or even have just a comfortable retirement.
Okay. So what were some of the first steps that you would have taken to set up your plan?
I used really simple steps at first. I would have created a budget and forced myself to stick to it.
Right.
Then I would have looked at more long-term saving options, such as registered annuities and endowment life insurance policies. And it was important that I made sure that I understood what these products offered to me, as well as how I could fit it into my overall plan.
Now, that's a great way to approach it, because creating a budget is really, it gives you an opportunity to measure everything, because you can't fix what you can't measure. Now, just to clarify, what an annuity is, an annuity provides a steady income in your retirement. And in Trinidad, there are registered annuities and unregistered annuities. With a registered annuity, you'll be able to claim back 25% in terms of your tax return, as well as you could receive payments when it is you start to retire. Whereas an endowment life insurance policy, it's a life insurance policy that provides you the death benefit while you're still alive. So unlike traditional life insurance policies where it is you would only benefit, your beneficiaries are the one that will benefit, you would be the one that will benefit with an endowment life insurance policy. Now, you could use that to secure many different goals, such as planning for retirement, as well as saying about your children's education. But you could get a little bit more deeper into it later on as we go along, right? Now, from your experience, Anissa, what would you say would have been the biggest benefits in starting to plan at an early age?
I would say the biggest benefit would be having time on your side. Because the earlier I started saving and investing my money, I was giving my money more time to grow and allowing compounding to work in my favor. It also gave me the opportunity to take advantage of long-term strategies that would require a bit more commitment, long-term commitment, and I didn't have to feel too rushed about the process.
Now, the good thing about time, when time is on your side, it gives you a lot more time for your mind to grow, right? Think of it, I like to use the analogy of riding a bicycle on a hill. So if it is you in your early 20s trying to climb the hill in terms of financial growth or attaining your financial goals, you have more time. So if this is start, let me say like in your 20s, and your timeline or the end of your timeline is, let's say like around 60, that's a very smooth ride up.
Yeah.
But picture it if it is you start trying to make that same climb and your end goal is age 60 at probably like around age 40. Yeah. It's a much more difficult tread that you need to keep making up that hill. So that is our analogy I like to use to help people understand why it's important to start planning at an early age.
That's an excellent analogy, actually.
Okay, so what would be some advice that you would give to someone who's now starting in their early 20s or 30s and who feels like it's a little too early to start planning?
I would tell them that it's never too early to start planning, and you also don't have to focus on having a lot or starting with a lot. The key is to just get started, because the earlier you start, the easier it is to achieve those goals. And most importantly, start with what you have and just build yourself from there. Develop the habit of saving.
So you would have told me prior of it that you would have been in the corporate sector before, right? In finance, you said?
Yes.
Right. What made you make that shift from being in the corporate environment to starting your business?
For one, I never saw myself as just that desk person. I always wanted to explore my options and lean into my strengths. And mathematics has always been a huge part of my life. And it was easy for me to make that transition, not knowing where it would lead, but taking the jump and just getting into something that I loved. So
is it that how you started it? You had a plan? What was your strategy in order to get this business up and running and be at a successful place?
I definitely had a plan in place, because if you don't know where you're going, you just aimlessly there. So I did have plans in place to ensure that certain risks would be mitigated. But of course, with business and during the pandemic, you had certain things you had to take into consideration, of course. But of course, yes, I did have a plan in place.
And how long would you have made that jump? How many years?
Just about 9 years ago.
So you would have been like 9 years during the pandemic as well too?
Prior to, during, and after.
So what are some tips that you could give anybody who listens to this here and who's thinking about making that jump? What tips you could give them to help them along in that process?
I would tell them to start as early as possible. The idea is to start now. The thing with this type of setup and trying to put this type of planning into place, time is always your greatest ally. So the earlier you start, the more time you are giving yourself to accomplish these goals. So it's actually making these goals appear more attainable and less stressful in the long run. Yeah.
Okay. So another question I would like to ask you is, where does the advice of a professional planner comes into the mix?
I believe having somebody who has gone through the grind and is able to speak to you from a place of experience, it definitely cuts your learning curve. So having a planner and a financial advisor is extremely beneficial. Unless you're one of those people who like to burn to learn, this is the best approach, to go to someone, a professional who is in the space and able to give you quality advice.
Okay. So let's shift a little bit of gears into the role of financial planning when it comes to your retirement, right? So you're selling the business 9 years, your business been successful before, during, and after the pandemic. And as a business owner, what are some of the challenges you would have came across in planning for your retirement?
So, because I don't have a traditional 9-to-5 job with a set retirement plan, I had to look for alternative options, right? Because I don't have an employer-sponsored plan. And I would say, in light of those challenges, that is where it led me to look at options to make sure that I was putting aside enough for my future. And that's when I came across the endowment life insurance policies and the registered annuities that gave me a peace of mind knowing that I had these policies and these options working for me in the background, even if my business were to go through its ups and downs.
Now, the good thing about planning, and what I always tell a lot of people when it comes to thinking about planning, retirement planning is not a static plan. It's something that grows with you as time goes by. So I'm of the opinion that if where it is you are today is not where it is you're going to be in 5, 10 years going down the line. So what you can afford and what you can start off now is something that needs to always be adjusted, because I realize a lot of the problems people have when it comes to planning for their retirement, they will start a retirement plan at when it is now start to work, and they contribute bare minimum and they never revise it. And you will find the years will continue to go by and they never make any adjustments to those plans. And they will find coming up to retirement, they would be of the opinion that my company has a pension plan. I could be comfortable with that. Or I will live on NIS. And I am of the firm belief that retirement is your responsibility and you need to put all of the effort into your retirement, because there's a nice saying when it comes to retirement. You can save for an education. You can borrow for an education, but you cannot borrow for retirement. So with that kind of headspace in mind, continue to work with your advisor to make adjustments as your plan progresses throughout your lifetime. And as your salary increases, make the right strategies to adjust in order to properly strategize so that you can have the right income when it is you retire. Now, with this in mind here, Anicia, what would you say, taking into account inflation and everything like that, right? What would you say is comfortable, or what do you say is a comfortable strategy that someone could implement to put aside something for their retirement?
I would say endowments are a good place to start.
Why? Because
they give you a guaranteed lump sum at different intervals. So you can set these intervals in which you would like your endowment to mature. And I think that that's a great place to start, endowments.
Now, in looking at that, one of the strategies that I like to give people is, we all know inflation is something that we cannot avoid, and we need to plan for inflation. So when it is you creating your retirement strategy, also plan for that as well too. So if it is inflation usually increases or usually goes up like about 3% every 24 years, take that into consideration in your plan. So when it is you adjusting, you make the adjustments to take that into consideration. All right? Now, looking at, you made a statement about the registered annuities, you made a statement about the endowments. What in your business, how do you think your business could grow that it would support you during your retirement as well?
So having these policies in place gives me a peace of mind, knowing that even if the business were to struggle a little, I do have things in place to secure myself and still have a comfortable retirement. So for me, as my income increases, I would look at adjusting my policies so that it can match my new circumstances.
Okay. Now, with having a business, businesses in itself carry a certain amount of risk, which is inherent, and that's part of the entrepreneurial journey that a lot of people are afraid to make this step into.
Yes.
And scaling a business, having a business that has the ability to scale, is really protecting yourself in the future. So do you see yourself scaling your business or adding on more tutors?
Yes and no. I really have to be comfortable with who I bring on board, because this has been my baby for the past few years. So I am very protective of who I allow in. But as it regards to scaling, yes and no, because as things grow, sometimes the quality of the service drops. So I always want to be able to maintain what I offer.
Okay. What's your thoughts on life insurance as it relates to protecting your legacy?
I believe that life insurance is very important, and one of the things that most people think about when they think about life insurance is just that protection factor. But one of the reasons that led me to the endowment is because you also have that savings component. So it's as if you have a savings account that will pay out, but you also have that life coverage. And for me, that was important to make sure that even as new responsibilities came and if there were changes in my life, I would still be leaving something aside for the people who would outlive me.
So if this be taken that into consideration, looking back at your younger self, right? Yeah. With the knowledge that you have now, what advice would you give the younger version of yourself? If it is you would have a conversation with them.
I would tell her to start planning for her retirement immediately, because I was very concerned about having enough to start with, and that should not have been my concern. I should have just started immediately, because the earlier I started, the more time I would have given my money to grow and to work for me. And I just believe that start from where I am at that point and then look to build from there. But that's where you came in. That's where an advisor would come in terms of meeting you where you're at and taking you where you want to be in the safest manner.
Now, I would have realized throughout my period as an advisor that there are a lot of persons who wait until it's too late, and then they only start to look at their retirement benefits at let's say about 5 years into retirement. And this has nothing to do with how much money you're earning, because I know a lot of people who earn a lot of income, who are a lot of money, and having money doesn't equate to having a good plan. Right. Because there's nothing that could replace a good plan and a good strategy. Because there are you could have a lot of money and still spend it badly, and still not really see the actual rewards of your earnings. So I'm of the firm belief that planning, having a plan, any plan, and then building on it as time goes by, it's great. It's a great thing. Do you have any, let's say, for somebody a little bit older than you, right? Because you say in your early 30s right now. Yes. What advice would you give someone who is in their 40s?
I would tell them that it is never too late to start. I believe that you should evaluate where you're at right now and set realistic goals. And just as when you're younger, work with what you have, because there are options that are available for everybody at every stage of life. So don't ever feel like you're too old to start planning, you know?
So you made that statement there. You have, and I recalled that you work with a lot of children as well too, right? Where does this come into play with kids? Financial literacy.
Financial literacy, I believe, is important because, as you would have mentioned in the opening, is something that is not taught at school, but it is absolutely needed. And the unfortunate thing is that most people, only when they are thrown into adulthood, then they have to figure out what to do with money, how does money work, and how can I make money work for me? You know, so I do believe that financial literacy is particularly important, and not just as a component of education, but as a life skill as you move forward into your adulthood.
When it comes to financial literacy, an easy way to get involved into it or to break people into it, simple things like Monopoly. Playing Monopoly, those kind of games help a lot in terms of understanding apartments, rentals, owning a home, yes. How tax does work, basic things like that.
They also cause a lot of family arguments and disputes. What? You're right.
Plenty relationships broke up as a result of Monopoly. Yes. But it's very necessary that from at an early age, parents impart this information and this knowledge onto their children, and having a conversation about it with the parents themselves, because sometimes they themselves are not fully aware. Yeah. And planning early, especially when it comes to your children, it would help as it relates to planning for their education as well too, because we all know the cost of education. Gate is no longer available. I mean, I benefited from Gate. I'm sure you benefited from
Myself
Gate as well.
yes.
Right? But now the gate closed. And some people don't have that option right now available.
Right.
So planning early, in my opinion, when it comes to your children, it should start from the time you planning to have a child.
Right.
Or if it is you didn't plan to have a child and your child shows up, plan from that point moving forward, because at some point in time, the child will reach 18, they would want to go to university, and we all know right now, CSEC and A-levels would only go so far. Just after yesterday, I was looking at a video, this girl says she has about 17 courses, 17 passes, distinctions, this, that, and the other, and she's working as a bartender. And it's unfortunate, but the reality is, CSEC and these courses is just to get your foot into the door.
Yes.
Even a degree is only to get your foot into the door. Sometimes getting or doing further courses, further studies, and developing yourself to the point where it is you increase your value to the market. That is really where the education and the time spent in university will really come into play. But your education does not stop at university. It's a lifelong thing. Education is a lifelong process, and the more you invest in yourself, the better you would be, or the better results you will get as an adult moving forward. Now, you have any closing remarks or anything that you want to share with the public?
Sure. So to add to the point that you were making, I do believe that there are persons who are interested in investing, but they're just not sure which avenue to take. And that's why I am happy that this series is on, so that people can get that literacy to make an educated and informed decision moving forward, even if it's just to plan for themselves, for their retirement, or to put things in place for their kids, especially in light of everything that's happening now with Gate and so on.
I would say that, no, thank you for sharing that, Anicia, and thank you for sharing your story and experience with us. Now, I would say that financial planning falls into the boat of financial literacy, because sometimes if it is you don't understand where you are currently, you're not able to identify where it is you can go, and it stems at a basic fundamental point of having a budget.
Yes.
Having a budget is the baseline of everything, and I would have met with a lot of people, they don't have a basic budget at all. If it is you don't have a basic budget and you're not able to track where it is your funds going, because a lot of people would spend money, the month will come and they don't know where the money going.
Yes.
They would spend money on all kinds of different things and they can't account for it. And month in, month out, these things will continue to occur, and up until their life goes by and they reach into retirement and they can't live comfortably, and then they want to depend on their children.
Yes.
So this is where financial literacy comes into play, understanding that, one, you may not be in a position that you are able to plan for yourself, but this is where the services of a qualified financial advisor will come into play, because the advisor will give you objective information as it relates, as opposed to your subjective information.
Agreed.
Because in your situation, you will look at it from an individualistic perspective, and how it is you feel at the point, versus the advisor will give you an objective observation based on an overall strategy and plan that we create. So normally what I would do is have a conversation, create an overall strategy, and then understand your goals, and then chart the path in order to reach there. Right? Now, this is really the start of a very long conversation, and I hope that after each episode, you are able to take away some sort of value from our conversation and implement some key tip or key point into your life that will help you move forward. Now, thank you for looking, thank you for tuning in, and this is just the start. This is Dollars and Cents, where it is we make your dollars make sense, and hope to see you again on your next episode.
WESN.
This is 10 Questions. I'm Andy Johnson. The distance from where we should be in the world in going forward on our commitments with climate change.
The effects of climate change that cannot be accounted for, it's called loss and damage. And we're seeing loss and damage happening so much more in this decade and the previous decade.
The principal term there was this question of the correspondent banking issues.
That is why we're trying to build capacity with this country here, Trinidad and Tobago, and other countries in the region. Man
is not showing any signs of stopping or even slowing down. More than half of the forest in Trinidad is already gone.
All the plants and all the animals and all of the nice clean water.
We have small change when it comes to countries that can take decisions, and when they speak, the world listens.
The General Assembly is a very democratic forum. And Trinidad and Tobago has the same vote as Canada, in spite of the obvious difference in size.
Folks, we're back and better than ever.
Your show have always appeared to be a show that is focused on going to the cause or looking to the cause.
We hardly ever talk about the white-collar crime, though. We always talk about the ones that involve more as physical violence against individuals.
The citizens will only measure transmission when water starts to flow through their taps.
The Constitution doesn't talk about local election.
Contract mafia that's responsible for looting the country, and they own and operate these politicians.
So if you are running a country and you can't say nothing as a prime minister, please take up your bag and go.
It is not comparative to the murder figures, but it is in fact very high.
I believe he's protecting certain individuals.
Knowing how to tell authentic is as easy as 1, 2, 3. Find it, match it, search it. Step 1. Find the style number on the tag. Step 2. Match the style number inside the jersey with the number on the tag. Step 3. Search it. A quick Google search of the style number will verify the jersey is authentic when the search results match the jersey being searched. Don't be fooled by counterfeit jerseys. Before you buy, remember to find it, match it, search it.
Fan Zone, 2 locations nationwide. Center City Mall, Chaguanas and Movietown, Port of Spain. Nationwide delivery available.
Hello there and welcome to AM Prime on WESN Content Capital. Before we even start this repatriation and reintegration process that we've already failed, or are we doomed to fail?
You've got to invest in the institutions that you've established to carry out those sorts of core functions.
We now get into the regional updates to give you an understanding of what's happening across our neighboring islands.
We have available a number of films that are worth showing.
So it was day one when the French Revolution started to develop the concept of universal human rights.
What happened this time is unprecedented. It's one of the largest terrorist attacks in history.
Let's welcome Carl to the program. Carl is over there next to himself. Hello, Carl.
Silky anteater or pygmy anteater, and we have 2 of the 3 species of anteaters right here.
and unsafe, according to UNIFIL observer forces, to really understand what's going on the border between northern Israel and southern Lebanon.
Rawad Taha for us there. Well, amid the Israeli attacks on Lebanon, Hezbollah is also firing rockets at Israel. Today, 2 people have been killed in the northern town of Kiryat Shimona, this according to the ambulance service there. They are reported to be a man and a woman in their 40s. Now, staying in Israel, 130 soldiers there have signed a letter warning they will refuse to serve in Gaza unless the government pursues a ceasefire and a hostage deal. Emerald Maxwell has the details for us.
The signatories include reservists and draftees across multiple military branches. 130 of them have written to the Israeli cabinet ministers and the army chief of staff.
It is now clear that continuing the war in Gaza does not only delay the hostages' return from captivity, but also endangers their lives. Many hostages have been killed by IDF strikes, many more than those who have been rescued in military operations to save them.
They warn that they will not be able to continue serving unless the government prioritises a hostage exchange deal.
For some of us, the red line has been crossed already. For others, it is rapidly approaching. The day is approaching when we will, with broken hearts, stop reporting for duty.
It comes a year into Israel's war with Hamas, and as it expands its ground offensive in Lebanon, deploying a 4th division on Tuesday. Since October 7th, the Israeli military says it's enlisted 300,000 reservists out of a total reserve personnel of 465,000, the largest ever call-up in Israel's history. Military service of 2 years for women and just under 3 years for men is compulsory for the majority of Israelis when they turn 18. After this, most of them can be called up until the age of 40 or even older in case of national emergency. About 7% of Israel's population is in active or reserve military service, and Wednesday's letter is not the first time they've taken a stand. In early 2023, the protest movement against judicial reform spread to the ranks of the army and reservists, with hundreds publishing open letters warning they wouldn't serve if the reform were adopted.
Let's bring you some other world news now. And the US state of Florida is bracing for a direct hit from Hurricane Milton. Major damage is forecast, and President Biden has postponed a major trip abroad to focus on Ukraine. Millions of people have been told to evacuate, and authorities have warned that